Your boarding pass is ready. Security line is moving. You're 10 minutes from your gate. Then you hear it. Sir, step aside, please. The TSA agent is holding up your bag. Something inside just triggered every alarm in the system. You packed this bag the same way you always do. But in 2026, always isn't good enough anymore. What flew last month won't fly today. And that innocent item you tossed in your carry-on without thinking, it just became the reason you're missing your flight. This isn't paranoia. It's the new reality. Airlines and security agencies worldwide have rolled out a silent wave of restrictions that are catching even experienced travelers completely off guard. The rules have shifted, the technology has upgraded, and the margin for error has vanished. One wrong item, one overlooked regulation, and you're facing confiscation, fees, or worse, watching your flight leave without you. These aren't suggestions, they're not guidelines, they're hard stops, and if you don't know them before you pack, you'll learn them the expensive way. Here are the 7 carry-on traps that will define air travel in 2026. The biometric boarding requirement that deletes your paper trail. You show up at the gate ready to board, boarding pass in hand, ID ready, but the gate agent doesn't reach for either. Instead, they point to a camera mounted at eye level. Step up to the scanner, please. You hesitate. I'd rather just show my boarding pass. The agent's face doesn't change. This is mandatory for boarding. In 2026, facial recognition isn't optional anymore at most major carriers. It's the primary boarding method. And your printed boarding pass? It's becoming a relic. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Airlines are partnering with government databases to match your face against passport photos, driver's license records, even visa images stored in immigration systems. The scan takes 2 seconds. When it works, you walk right through. No fumbling for documents, no scanning barcodes. But when it doesn't work, or when the system flags your face as a mismatch, boarding stops cold. And here's what nobody warns you about. If you refuse biometric scanning, you're not just inconveniencing yourself, you're triggering additional screening. Manual ID checks take longer. They require supervisor approval. They create bottlenecks. And if your flight is already boarding, that delay could cost you your seat. The irony? You still have the right to opt out, but exercising that right in 2026 means accepting that you'll be the last person on the plane, if you make it on at all. The move that works? Enroll in your airline's biometric program before you fly. Update your profile photo. Make sure your ID matches your booking name exactly, down to middle initials, because when the camera doesn't recognize you, the system assumes you're the problem, and proving you're not takes time you don't have. The duty-free liquid loophole that just slammed shut. You clear security, you hit the duty-free shop, you buy a bottle of expensive perfume or a liter of liquor. It's sealed in that special tamper-evident bag with the receipt stapled to the front. You've done this a dozen times, it's always been fine, but in 2026, that sealed bag isn't a free pass anymore. Not if you're connecting through certain airports, not if your final destination has stricter liquid rules, and definitely not if you're flying into a country that doesn't recognize international duty-free standards. Here's the trap. You buy duty-free at your departure airport thinking it's secure and approved, but when you land for your connection, security makes you go through screening again. And suddenly that sealed bottle is just another liquid, over the limit, not in your quart bag, subject to confiscation. The agent doesn't care that you paid $100 for it. The agent doesn't care that it's still sealed. If it doesn't meet the current checkpoint's rules, it's gone. And here's what makes it worse. Different countries have different duty-free recognition agreements. What's allowed flying into Europe might be banned flying into Asia. What passes through one terminal might fail in another, even in the same airport. Travelers are losing hundreds of dollars in purchases because they assumed sealed meant safe. The reality? It doesn't. Not anymore. The workaround requires research. Before you buy anything at duty-free, check if you have connecting flights. If you do, verify that every airport on your route accepts international duty-free transfers. If even one doesn't, skip the purchase or check it at your first stop, because in 2026, that tamper-evident bag is only as good as the next checkpoint's policy. And policies change faster than passengers can keep up.
The medical device documentation that security doesn't believe. You travel with a CPAP machine, or an insulin pump, or a portable nebulizer. You've flown with it before. TSA has always waved you through. It's medical equipment, it's protected. Except in 2026, protected doesn't mean unquestioned anymore. Security wants documentation, real documentation, not just your word, not just the device in your bag. They want a doctor's letter on official letterhead dated within the last 6 months, stating exactly what the device is, why you need it, and confirming it's medically necessary for travel. Without that letter, your medical device gets treated like any other electronic. It goes through additional screening. It gets swabbed for explosives. It gets inspected piece by piece. And if you get defensive or frustrated during this process, the screening gets longer. Here's what's catching people. They assume that because it's obviously medical, it's obviously allowed. But security doesn't make assumptions. They follow protocols. And the protocol now requires proof. One traveler with a continuous glucose monitor was pulled aside for 20 minutes because they couldn't provide documentation. The device was eventually cleared, but they missed their flight. Another traveler with a portable oxygen concentrator was told it exceeded battery limits because they couldn't show the specifications, proving it was FAA approved. The device was fine, the paperwork wasn't, and that was enough to ground them. The solution is simple but requires planning. Get a letter from your doctor before every trip. Keep it with your medical device, not buried in your suitcase. Include device specifications if it's battery-powered. And when you reach security, declare it immediately. Don't wait for them to find it. Say it clearly. I'm traveling with a medical device and I have documentation. This puts it on record. It signals cooperation, and it dramatically reduces your chance of extended screening. Because in 2026, medical necessity isn't enough. You have to prove it. The gift wrapping ban that ruins surprises. You packed a gift for someone at your destination. Maybe a birthday present, maybe a souvenir. You wrapped it beautifully, ribbon, bows, the works. You're feeling good about it. Then security pulls your back. They point to the gift. We need to inspect this. You offer to open it. They shake their heads. We'll open it. And just like that, your carefully wrapped present is shredded on a metal table while a line of travelers watches. Here's the rule that catches everyone. TSA can and will unwrap any gift they can't see through on the scanner. They don't ask permission, they don't apologize. They're looking for concealed items, prohibited materials, anything that doesn't match what you declared. And once they open it, they're not rewrapping it. You're left holding torn paper, a visible gift, and the sinking realization that you just wasted 20 minutes of packing time. But here's the twist that makes it worse. Some airports now have policies requiring all wrapped items to be unwrapped before screening. Not inspected, unwrapped, period. No exceptions, no supervisor calls, no pleading your case. If it's wrapped, you unwrap it or you don't bring it through. The smart move? Never wrap gifts before you fly. Pack them flat with wrapping paper and supplies in your checked bag. Wrap them when you arrive. Or skip wrapping entirely and use gift bags that security can see into without destroying. If you absolutely must transport something wrapped, take a photo of it before packing. That way, if it gets destroyed, you at least have proof of what it looked like. Because in 2026, TSA doesn't care about surprises. They care about security. And your gift wrap is just another layer hiding potential threats.
The pet carrier dimension trap that separates families. You're traveling with your emotional support animal or small pet. You've got an airline-approved carrier, it fits under the seat, you've measured it, you've done this before. But at the gate, an agent pulls you aside. Your carrier exceeds our updated dimensions. You'll need to check your pet. Your heart drops. Check my pet? It's a living animal. They're firm. The rules changed this year. Your carrier is too large for cabin storage. In 2026, airlines have quietly tightened pet carrier regulations, and the new dimensions are smaller than most carriers currently sold. What used to be acceptable, 17 by 11 by 9 inches, is now being capped at 16 by 10 by 8 inches in many cases.
1 inch doesn't sound like much, but when carriers are designed with rigid frames and ventilation panels, that inch makes the difference between compliance and rejection. And here's the nightmare scenario. You find out at boarding, not at check-in, not when you bought your ticket, at the gate when it's too late to make other arrangements. Your options become impossible. Pay a massive fee to check your pet as cargo, which many airlines won't even do on the same day. Rebook your entire trip or don't fly at all. Families have been split up. Pets have been left with airport staff. Travelers have broken down crying at gates because they're being forced to choose between their flight and their animal. The only protection is measuring your carrier before you book. Contact the airline directly. Ask for their current year pet carrier dimensions. Don't trust old policies or third-party websites. Airlines update these rules constantly and they don't announce it. And if you're between sizes, go smaller, because an agent at the gate has final say, and if they say it doesn't fit, you're not arguing your way onto that plane. The food item ban that's expanding beyond belief. You packed snacks, granola bars, nuts, maybe a sandwich for a long flight. Solid food has always been fine. TSA never cared. But in 2026, what counts as solid food is getting scrutinized like never before, and what you thought was a safe snack might actually be a banned item. Here's what's changing. Any food that can be spread, poured, or squeezed is now being classified as a liquid. That means peanut butter, hummus, soft cheese spreads, yogurt, pudding cups, honey, even jelly inside a sandwich can get flagged if it looks too liquidy on the scanner. One traveler had a packed lunch confiscated because the agent decided the avocado spread on their wrap violated the liquid rule. Another lost an entire bag of homemade energy balls because they contained dates and nut butter that appeared paste-like on the X-ray. And here's the international twist that's catching people on return flights. Bringing food back from abroad, especially meat, dairy, produce, or anything homemade, can trigger customs violations even if TSA clears it. Cured meats from Italy, cheese from France, fresh fruit from the tropics, all of it risks confiscation or fines, depending on import regulations. The safe play? Stick to commercially packaged, obviously solid snacks. Crackers, chips, dried fruit, whole pieces of fresh fruit are usually fine, but sliced or prepared fruit gets questioned. And if you're traveling internationally, just don't bring food back. It's not worth the risk, because in 2026, the definition of liquid has expanded to include almost anything that isn't crunchy, and arguing with TSA about the viscosity of your snack is a fight you'll never win. The prohibited accessory list that nobody reads. You're wearing a belt with a large metal buckle, or a necklace with a heavy pendant, or shoes with steel shanks in the soles. You walk through the scanner, it beeps. You're pulled aside for a pat-down. The agent points to your buckle. That needs to come off. You're confused, it's just a belt. But in 2026, accessories are being flagged more aggressively than ever. Large belt buckles, especially ones with logos or decorative metal, trigger alarms. Heavy jewelry, particularly anything with dense metal or multiple chains, gets questioned. Shoes with reinforced toes or metal components require removal even in pre-check lanes. And clothing with excessive zippers, grommets, or studs can cause full-body scanner alerts that lead to secondary screening. Here's what travelers don't realize. Every alarm is a delay. Every pat-down is time lost. And when you're already cutting it close, these small accessories become major problems. Even worse, some items that used to be fine are now on watch lists. Tactical-style belts, oversized rings, wallet chains, anything that security perceives as potentially concealable or weapon-adjacent gets extra attention. The simple fix? Dress for the scanner. Minimize metal, wear slip-on shoes with no reinforcements, choose simple jewelry or skip it entirely. Put belts in your bag before screening if they have large buckles. And never ever wear clothing with slogans or images that could be perceived as aggressive or threatening. Because in 2026, TSA isn't just scanning your bag, they're scanning you. And what you wear speaks before you do. Here's the bottom line. 2026 isn't just another year of flying, it's a complete overhaul of how security works, what you can carry, and how closely you're being watched. The rules aren't getting looser, they're getting sharper. The enforcement isn't getting friendlier, it's getting automated. And the mistakes that used to earn you a warning now earn you a missed flight. But you're not flying blind anymore. You know about biometric boarding. You know about duty-free limits. You know about medical documentation, gift wrapping, pet carriers, food restrictions, and accessories that trigger alarms. That's 7 traps that catch thousands of travelers every single day, and now you won't be one of them. Before your next flight, check every item in your bag. Read your airline's current policies, not last year's. Prepare your documents, simplify what you wear, and always assume the rules are stricter than you remember. Because in 2026, assuming costs you. Knowing saves you. Which of these rules shocked you most? Drop a comment. Your story might save someone else's trip. And if this keeps you from a travel nightmare, subscribe and hit the bell. The next wave of airport changes is already coming. Until then, pack smart, stay sharp, and never assume anything. The traveler who adapts wins. The one who doesn't pays.